to be educated, but I'm so frustrated.
Yeah, man. Hey, guys, welcome back to the channel. Thanks to the members that keep hanging in there. I really appreciate you guys. And the subscribers, love you too. Especially the ones that actually watch the videos and stuff like that, you know what I mean? But tonight, we're going to get into something special for me. It has something to do with one track, basically done by the same musicians, two different bands, two different songs in the end. Some of you might already know this, but those who don't, you're going to be amazed the fact that these are basically the same tracks and two different songs, and a lot of people never really thought about it or heard it or listened close enough to realize they're the basic same tracks. Hey man, we're going to break Watching You down so you can actually hear the funk. So make sure you hang around to the end. You're going to see that. So y'all get ready to have some fun with this. The Funk of Watching You by Slave. Let's go, Mr. B, man.
Okay, Mr. Mindset, let's get into this.
All right, V-man, roll it. Hey, wait a minute. Something's not right here. That's not Watching You. Now, hold on, Mr. V-man. What are you giving me?
Nah, that's Inside Out by Odyssey.
Oh, well, since we already here, let's talk about it right quick before we break down Watching You by Slade. Because here is the truth. If you listen to both of these records back to back, you're going to notice something that don't sit right at first. The groove, the pocket, the feel, it's real close. Close enough to make you stop and ask, hold on now, how did this happen? So, let's walk it back and set the table the right way. Back in the late 70s out of Dayton, Ohio, Slade was building something serious. This wasn't no loose jam band just trying to catch a hit. These brothers were disciplined, tight. Everybody understood their role. And more importantly, they respected the groove. At the center of that sound was Mark Adams on that bass, laying down lines that didn't need to be loud to be felt. He had that thumping, sliding, and that slap, but more than anything, he had control. He knew how to lead without crowding the record. Then you bring in Steve Arrington. Now, Steve wasn't just a singer, he was a drummer first. That's important, because when a drummer is the front man, the groove is always going to come first. By the time they got to 1980 and dropped the Stone Jam album, everything had lined up. Yeah, man, Watching You wasn't trying to overwhelm you, it locked you in. Mid-tempo groove, bass leading the conversation, drums sitting right in the pocket, and everything else falling into place around that foundation. The record made noise, no question, hitting number 6 on the R&B charts and staying there for weeks. Over time, it became one of those tracks that producers, DJs, and musicians kept going back to. The kind of groove that don't age. Now, flashback about 3 years.
You should know the score by now. You're a native.
It was 1977, and a group called Odyssey made themselves known with hits like Native New Yorker. At that time, the group was the sisters Lillian and Louise Lopez alongside Tony Reynolds. Fast forward to 82, where Bill McEachern had taken over as the male member, and they were working on new material for their Happy Together album. Now, you gotta understand the situation for Odyssey. They were a New York vocal powerhouse, and they were coming out of that disco era where the strings were high and the energy was peak, but by the early 80s, the streets wanted something grittier, so they had to get to work. They were now recording at Atlantic Recording Studios in New York, and the man behind the glass was the legendary Jimmy Douglas. Jimmy had already helped Slade find that Dayton grease, and now he was looking to give Odyssey a fresh, funky edge. He had a demo in his hand written by a man named Jesse Ray. Now, this is a little crazy, but this guy Jesse was a Scottish songwriter who was famous for wearing a full kilt and carrying a claymore sword while he wrote funk music. You heard me, and you might be wondering how a guy from the rural borders of Scotland ends up writing what would become one of the slickest R&B grooves of the 80s.
Well, I was always into soul and funk when I was a laddie, but really, I found an old Parliament Funkadelic record in what they call a jumble sale, and I immediately hit on that was the kind of music that I associated myself with.
Well, Jesse Ray was a true funk disciple who emigrated to the USA and eventually hooked up with the legendary funketeers like Roger Troutman, Bernie Worrell, and the P-Funk Mob. Jesse also created a sound he called Scots Parliament Funkadelic. Now, he wrote Inside Out, but as you heard, it was missing the real funk. And Jimmy Douglas knew where to find it, so the song would move the clubs. they went and got the real funk master for drums, Steve Arrington. So, when you hear Inside Out come in like this,
She's always on the phone.
that pocket feel ain't by accident. But here's the part that might surprise you. Mark Adams, the man who defined that bass sound on Watching You, is not the bass player on Inside Out. That bass is played by the late Samuel Sandy Anderson. Sandy was a monster player from the group Unlimited Touch, and he was sitting in a room with other heavy hitters, like Lenny Underwood on the keys and Sergio Diaz on the guitar. Listen close. The approach is intentional. Jimmy and Sandy worked that bass line to mirror that same Slave foundation. Nah, let me stop capping. They were just copying what Mark Adams had laid down the first time. The result was a hit that reached number 3 on the UK charts and stayed in the top 40 for 9 weeks. It was a massive crossover success that proved the Dayton sound could conquer Europe just as easily as it did the US R&B charts. Same producer, same drummer, same bass style of Mark Adams, but a whole new group bringing it to a different audience. The song went on to become a strong record, especially overseas, and it stands on its own. But if your ears are right, you instantly hear that connection. Now, let's bring this thing back home, because the real reason we're here is to hear the funk of the original song. So, let's go ahead and pop the hood on this funk machine and see what was really happening. First, we gotta start out with the main guitar part. Yeah, man, Danny Webster was setting a funk standard right here. And you can hear Ray Turner underneath holding down the keys. That's the smooth and pretty before the funk and gritty. Huh, are some of y'all still trying to figure out what funky is? There it is, homie. Man, Webster's stroking like a chankaholic, needing to check into rehab. Bruh, man, laid an iconic funk riff, and that whole guitar part here should be in the Hall of Fame by itself. But what's the pocket holding this thing together? I bet Steve Arrington in the studio knows. Now, I know you see Stevie on them vocals, but he was slapping the heck out them drum heads on this tune, and on the Inside Out tune for Odyssey too. And this is where people miss it. He's not trying to outplay the band, he's being surgical. Chopping, sitting right in that pocket, keeping it tight, clean with every stroke. He knows when to let that groove ride, not forcing fills where they don't belong. Along with those hand claps, that part is straight cracking. But Mark Adams says, let me get some too. Yeah, man, slide was a mother of a bass part, but that ain't what it's about here. Now, Mark Adams ain't up in here trying to impress the fellas and the bass heads. He's trying to make the ladies dance. Han Solo ain't running all over the neck, not doing a whole lot of extra. This is controlled, intentional funk. He's laying down a line that's steady, guiding everything else, and leaving just enough space for the groove to breathe, and not forgetting to hit you with a breakdown too. That's grown man playing right there. That's a man who understands the assignment, the late great Mark Adams. Now the keys and synth, you already heard them working. Ray Turner was giving you atmosphere and color, so it's time to see what Steve Arrington was talking about on the mic.
Looking at the ladies, all of them fine. All of them so lovely, I can't make up my mind.
He comes in with that unique tone, that personality, not overpowering the track. He's riding on top of it.
You're stepping so high and walking down the street, watching ladies go by, watching you. One look and I was hooked on you, baby. Whoa.
Smooth, a little playful, a little quirky, but confident. Like he already knows the groove got you locked in.
I'm watching you and only you, baby. Whoa. Walking down the street, watching ladies go by, watching you. You're blowing my mind. Gonna do a little dance for you.
That's charisma sitting right inside the rhythm. And when you put all of that together, that's a band working together. That's what funk is supposed to be. You start to understand something about the industry. Grooves travel, sounds move. Producers carry ideas from one room to another. Musicians bring their feel with them. And before you know it, you got two records, two different groups, two different audiences. But something underneath them feels the same. Today, both Slave and Odyssey sit in that legacy space. Watching You still gets sampled, still gets played, still gets studied. It became the backbone for tracks by everyone from Snoop Dogg to Jay-Z. Inside Out still moves crowds, especially across the water where it built its own life and influenced the early house and electronic scene. And that connection between them, that's not something you read, that's something you hear. Oh, but before we go, Jesse Ray later went and threw his voice on the same track and released his own version.
When you're sitting on your own and you feel the city light surround.
Yeah, man, it's a crazy story, you know what I mean? Especially the knight in shining armor, you know what I mean? But anyway, hey, we lost Steve Washington a few weeks ago and stuff like that. We want to show some honor to him, man, because he was one of the ones who put this band together in the first place, know what I mean? We're very thankful that we had the opportunity to have him while we had him. But Inside Out, that's a funky song, man. You need to go look that up and listen to just how funky it is. Of course, the music is the same thing from Watching You, but the lyrics and the way that Jesse Ray wrote it made that a hot song. And of course, Steve Arrington on Watching You and all the songs he did with Slade were hot, man. Hey guys, I hope you appreciate this little look at this, and I hope you come back to the channel for more stuff like that. I'm Mr. Mindset, thanks.